Chapter 14, brands I endorse. The course is starting. Let's get into it. Boom, chapter 14. What brands do I endorse? I endorse a couple brands. Next we get to get into own authority. And get to break down how to do all that, the little bits and pieces of it, okay? We're moving right along. Everything we've done up to this point is very important, and it's like the foundation, is like the boat anchor of how well and how long we're going to last out here. That's always been my goal with this, is not to just get how to get started in trucking, and that's pretty easy, but I want to give this information that I've been given that's going to really it's going to really help encourage duration, long lasting, to really to make it, not just to get in, but to make it and to keep on making it. And that's all done in these, what we've been doing already. Everything we've done up to this point is like the huge foundation. It's like when you look at the tip of the iceberg, people only see the tip, but everything else that we just did up to this point is like the huge iceberg underneath it that really keeps everything together and keeps it solid. All right. Me and my words. I'll just talk right around what I want to say. All right, so here we go. Chapter 14. Here's the picture. It's a cool picture. Rainy night out there in Virginia, past Fancy Gap. I remember taking this photo. This chapter will be short and sweet. I will quickly discuss and highlight different brands and products that I endorse, use, and suggest. This is not an end-all be-all list, and don't worry if something you use is not on this list. That doesn't mean that it's not a good product. It's just not a brand or product that I personally use or endorse, or maybe I just don't know about. And there's also a small factor that I may leave something out unintentionally. I just didn't make it into the list. So let's go. This brand right here, I really like this brand, TST Truck Tire Sensors. Here's their link. I really like this product and brand. I've had my sensors for about 4 years now, and they are still going strong. These sensors have saved me a lot of time and money over the years. Next, we got Brake Safe, which we've talked about both of these products already. And here's their link to Spectra products. And if you are an OIDA member, make sure to let them know and let that be known at checkout, and you will get a further discount. I like this product because of the accuracy and ease it brings to checking my own brake push stroke travel, aka brake adjustment. It's a great idea, and it's a great idea, the product itself, and it's a great design, in my opinion. The components are made of high quality material and look great. It lets the DOT know that you mean business. When they come to check your brakes, when they come to check your brakes and do an inspection, right? They will be very impressed of your initiative, there's the word, when it comes to paying attention and keeping your brakes in adjustment. Now, I like these anti-seize cotter pin by the same company, Spectra Products. Here's their link again in the ebook. These pins are about $5 each and can be a little tricky to put on, but man, are they a better alternative to the regular style cotter pins. If you're going to be doing your own work, like changing slack adjusters, you may run into a clevis pin that's completely seized up, and it just ridiculous to get out. Pinging it with a point, like a chisel and a hammer, pinging, it just may not want to come out. So these clevis pins allow, anti-seize clevis pins allows it when you press the brake, the slack adjuster moves and allows the clevis pin to spin, therefore it never gets stuck in place. So like I said, this product makes sure that doesn't happen. This product allows the clevis pin to roll inside the clevis as the brakes are pressed. This makes sure that the corrosion and etc. never has a chance to pile up and bind the clevis pin to the clevis. And also, a seized clevis pin forces automatic slack adjusters to work harder with underperforming brake force. So that could even, impact different, maybe even brake adjustment, but it's working harder and harder because it's stuck. And, we don't want that either. You don't want your slack adjusters working harder because of a seized clevis pin. The harder the slack adjuster has to work, the higher the chance the slack adjuster will stop performing over time. You may have to go to a third-party site like this one here, like the Let's Truck, the Kevin Rutherford store, to buy these. Eco Flaps. Next, we got Eco Flaps. They're out of Brentwood, Tennessee, and here's their link. These guys are the original real deal when it comes to the aerodynamic mud flaps. Unlike the gimmicks and the imitators, right? The Eco Flap is actually designed to let air pass through, in an intentional way, not just holes to let air go through. They got it intentionally to route air a certain way. And I have 4 of these on my flatbed trailer. I've had them for like 5 years now. They perform great and are tough, lightweight, and they let the air pass right through. And so we're causing less resistance, rolling resistance going up the road. Probably even see a small fuel mileage MPG increase. They can handle snow and slush very well, and they look great. I know I give off positive impressions when other owner-operators look at my trailer, because it's just something we don't have to do. Most people just pick the plain Jane regular mud flaps and stuff, but I got the really long, since I'm on a flatbed, I got the really long Eco Flaps, and they just look great back there, in my opinion, and I know they work well. Sure, it's not the same as a fresh paint job and freshly polished wheels, but it's just another example of initiative. Here was the word. Real owner-operators embrace initiative. Just look how big and how heavy flatbed mud flaps are. Like, have you ever tried to carry 2 of these mud flaps in your arms? I have, when I was walking to the dumpster with my old ones, and I realized how heavy and bulky and how much wind they must stop going up the road. The wind my old mud flaps would block is called wind drag. The mud flaps down, they're going up the road, and the wind's hitting it and it's causing the drag. Every little thing that produces wind drag is slowing you down just a bit, and it requires more power from the motor, which equals more fuel. So if it's slowing you down a little bit, you need more power to overcome that, which is more fuel. Eco Flaps are the real deal, and the original when it comes to aerodynamic mud flaps. Give them a go. Thumbs up. Next, we got Fumoto, the Fumoto drain valve. Here's their link. It is my understanding that these drain valves are made in Japan. They are granted genuine part status in Japan by Toyota, Nissan, Mazda, and more. I've been using one for years now. I really love the quality compared to the other brands sold at the truck stop. Like the Easy Drain Valve and stuff like that. But these Fumotos are built like a tank. The quality feels very solid and dependable. Mine has never dropped a bit of oil once I put it on, and it has like a locking station and even a clip you can put over it, so it's not going to open going up the road. They're like $50. Definitely worth it if you get into wanting to change your own oil. So let's just say, you take your old oil pan, the bolt, the drain plug off, and you drain all your oil off. Then at that point you would put the Fumoto valve on. Then from that point on, you'll never have to take that back off. You just lift up the valve and hook up a hose, and you can drain all your oil into 5-gallon buckets and basically mess free. So like I was saying, for a few additional dollars, you can buy a clip that keeps it locked and a hose that you can attach the valve itself to, so you can direct the flow of oil into a 5-gallon bucket or a container of your choice. In order to use the hose, you have to have a valve that has the hose hookup on it. I think they call it like the nipple or something like that. So just look to make sure it has the little nipple piece on it if you want to have this ability to hook a hose up to it, which is super nice. I love the flexibility that it gives me. I've pretty much been changing my own oil ever since I got the Fumoto valve on. Another great thing about this valve is you don't have to deal with somebody at the truck stop accidentally over-torquing your drain plug and cracking your oil pan, right? It's happened before. Not to me, but to others. I've heard some stories. So that's also another thing. So even if you want to put this Fumoto valve on, like next time you go to do an oil change, you can just have them, instead of putting the oil drain plug on, you can keep the old one and have them put the Fumoto on. Then as you go forward to do more oil changes, they can just use the valve. You just instruct them like, there's the valve, do it. Then that way they don't have to fool with over torquing it and stuff like that. Also, if you happen to get overfilled with oil, you can drain a little oil out your valve so you don't accidentally like spin a bearing or something from having way too much oil in. So it allows you to put some oil out. Very, very convenient, nice tool to have. I definitely recommend it. It's only $50. check out Fumoto and type in your like your motor, I think it's like your year and your motor, year of the motor, make. Well, you see what I'm saying? Not the make of the truck, but the make and model of the motor, and they'll be able to match it up. Should be able to. Here's a video of me changing my oil and showing my Fumoto drain valve. It's like right here in yellow. It's hard to see, but it's a video I made a while ago on oil change. Next, we already just talked about this in technology, but the Keep Trucking ELDs. Here's their link again. Like I mentioned earlier, I was hesitant to partner with Keep Trucking, but they've really impressed me. And for the record, I'm not very easy to impress, huh? I love the software on the computer side. It makes getting info for IFTA very quick and simple. The app performs very well. I haven't had any real performance issues with the app. The app is very responsive and user-friendly. I also use their dash cam as well. It seems to do very well and has already outperformed previous dash cams that I've owned. The cost is about $600 a year is the deal that we got going, that I got going with them. So about $50 a month. My video road log was free after the initial purchase, but yeah, this Keep Trucking performs very well and is way more user-friendly actually than my video road log was. As long as they keep their performance up and making the app even better, I will stick around with Keep Trucking for the long haul. Next, we got Truckerz Path. I think we all know the Truckerz Path app by now, of course. I still use this app and have been using it for years. I think it does a great job of finding truck stops along the way, especially as you're getting more and more used to like where everything is. And for to use for trip planning. The parking status feature works pretty good for the most part, but is only as reliable as the information that us, the users, put into it. When I'm trip planning and going to park my truck in stage close to a major city, I will check the parking history to get a feel for when the average time certain truck stops fill up. But after a while, you get to really know certain places and certain like the lay of the land, so to speak, of like when certain places fill up. But another cool feature with Truckerz Path too, I'll use it to find like restaurants that are around certain areas, and sometimes that'll be the determining factor of where I decide to stop certain times. Southern Tire Mart. I really like the Southern Tire Mart. This is my go-to place for tires. If I can't get a Southern Tire Mart, I will use a TA Petro as a backup. In my experience, Southern Tire Mart, they just had the best prices in the market for the tires that I'm looking for. They have very reasonable mount and dismount prices, and they're usually very fast at getting the job done. So if you're anywhere in like the greater South, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, I think probably Florida, Tennessee, probably the Carolinas. I think Southern Tire Mart goes into Oklahoma and Kansas maybe too. So then we got Speedco. If I'm changing my oil over the road, I prefer Speedco over the rest. TA Petro is a close second. I used to really love Speedco before Love's bought them out. But, hey, after Love's bought them, the prices increased and the structure got more corporate. Right? The prices increased and the structure got more corporate. And what I mean by that is I used to be able to get... Well, I might say it again here in just a sec. But I used to be able to go into the store, go into there and really just sit and watch and make sure the oil gets drained, talk to the mechanic. But since Love's got it, they became way more corporate and say, hey, you can't come into the shop no more. You got to go into the office or you got to go out there and all that stuff. But I used to be able to get in and out of the Speedcos really fast, and the guys always seemed to know what they were doing. Especially when it came to greasing the truck, it seemed to be a cut above. But when Love's bought Speedco, it just seemed to go a little downhill in my opinion. They still do well, but the price went up and the quality kind of went down, and you have to go sit outside. Then they stopped carrying Fleet Guard filters, which is that's if you're using a Cummins motor, I definitely recommend using Fleet Guard filters. But they took them out and they want to have us all use Lube Finder, so stuff like that. They are still the most premier nationwide brand to get an oil change done, no doubt, but they used to be better, in my opinion, so we'll see what they do. But and maybe they will improve more along the way, I don't know. But maybe it's just because I'm so used to the savings and assurance of changing my own oil now. Speedco, Because yeah, now once I got into the groove of doing it myself, all that stuff just seemed way too expensive. I'm like, nah, I just drained it with my Fumoto valve into a bucket. You know, that's it. Boom, done. For the most part, slide the oil filter on, and that's it. But Speedco will check your differentials. That's nice. A nice complimentary service. Your differential fluid, and they will let you watch usually. At this point, we kind of got to go like outside of the fence, or it just depends on how new it is, and and who the manager is that day. But we still can usually watch pretty close, but I guess not technically allowed to anymore. And that was one thing that I always liked about them. If I'm paying someone to do the work, I want to watch and make sure that the oil drops and everything is done well. I mean, that's the thing, is we don't have to hawk out all these guys and stuff, but I just like to make sure that I like to see that the oil drops. We're doing an oil change. As soon as the oil cracks open, the oil drops, I'm more easy about like, okay, I don't have to be around for the whole thing, especially when I'm paying for like differentials, like I just did recently, a couple days, yesterday, actually. I went to the Speedco here in town, put on the transmission and differential fluids, and I just same thing. I want to stick around. I want to watch the oil drop, so I know that everything's it's new. I'm getting what I paid for. I know, sounds a little bit like overkill, but it's just quality control, making sure it gets done. Next, we got TA Petro. I like the TA Petro brand. I definitely recommend TA Petro for fueling and parking. Their fuel has always been good for me, and I love the environment so much better at their truck stops. The parking lots are usually much bigger, much more room to maneuver, usually way less tight as far as like the rows right across from each other as far as backing in. This makes backing in so much easier and lowers the risk of what? That somebody will back into, it lowers the risk that somebody will back into you at night and, damage your hood or damage your bumper or something like that, or knock your mirror off. At these TA Petros, it's way less likely to happen because there's more room to maneuver. Their truck stops, TA Petro tends to attract more experienced drivers and owner-operators, and this could be a big deal if you're fixing something in their parking lot. Say, you're up against something and you're working on it, you're more likely to get help and access to tools. If there's a tool you don't have, there's probably somebody in that TA Petro, an experienced owner op, that he might have the tools. Especially more so compared to the type of traffic you're going to have at Loves and Pilot. It's going to be more of a company driver centric environment where people are not carrying tools or are experienced in being able to fix what you need to do. Also, another thing is, if you stay the night at TA Petro, and if you have an issue that morning, like say for instance like a dead battery or a relay or something, you could just walk right over to the shop and get the part. At most Pilots and Flying J's, you're not going to have access to these type of parts, batteries, and stuff like that. So Loves is a step down. No, is a step up from Pilot when it comes to parts, because a lot of the Loves is having the tire care centers. They're having more stuff now. Still not a ton, but they are getting more. But you still won't have that access to as many parts at Loves as you would, or Pilot, Flying J, as you would at TA or Petro. So keep that in mind when you're deciding about where you want to park. I know a lot of us get into using Pilots and Flying J's. The showers are decent. They got the reward points, and they got different snacks and stuff. And TA Petros are a little like kind of like run down sometimes and like old school. But the parking lots are way better, bigger, way less chance of getting backed into. At NASTEC, we get all of our field discounts here, so we get our free showers here. And a lot of these TA Petros do have really big, nice showers. Usually there's way less time to wait on a shower at TA Petro. Just get right in. And then we have these access to the parts. And then also just the environment that TA Petro attracts more experienced owner-operators, so we could help you get out of a bind, or even have just a nice beneficial conversation with about your trucking business and stuff you can learn from them along the way. So that's just something I want you to know, and that's how I see it, and for the most part that's exactly what it is. Very rarely do I spend the night at Pilots and Flying J's and Loves. Now I'll stop along the way for this, that, and the third, but I just don't really, very rare. I just don't prefer to. I will if I need to, if it makes sense, but yeah, Just I have to find a spot way away from like where where it's easy to back in, so somebody's not going to back into me, and I have to find a spot where if I need to leave early in the morning, I'm not going to get double backed in and stuff. It's just stuff like that, right? We work hard all day, and it's nice to just be able to go to a place and park and not have to worry about this difficult backing maneuver or somebody backing into us at all times. Not to say that all TA Petros are perfect too. There's some weird ones that are like all parallel parking, like TA Wyethville, Virginia. When you're coming off I-81 and 77, it's like all blind side, and it's a weird spot. But for the most part, they're going to be wide open more so compared to the others. Next, we got TRP. Have you ever heard of TRP? If you have a PACCAR, if you have a Kenworth or a Peterbilt, you probably have. But if you own a PACCAR truck such as a Peterbilt or Kenworth, then you may already know this brand, which is TRP. TRP makes high-quality aftermarket parts for PACCAR trucks, and they are sold at most dealerships, especially like the Rush Truck Centers, the greater Rush Truck Centers of the South. I've never had a problem with any of the TRP parts that I bought over the years. So whenever you see TRP, and they're like, hey, we got this, but we got it in TRP for this price, I almost would never hesitate to go ahead and get the TRP part, because all that TRP stuff is built pretty well in my experience. I really endorse the Cummins motors. As far as motors go, my opinion is pretty biased because I've only owned Cummins motors. But I would consider buying a pre-emissions Detroit motor if I was in the market to go buy another truck. But I'm sure other motor brands, are decent, pretty great too in their, in their own regards. I just can't really endorse them because I've never owned them myself. So in my chapter, which back in chapter 5, which truck should I choose? I talk a lot about the motors, and if you've already went through that, then we went through a lot of that, and it's all right there in that chapter. QuickBooks, we've talked about that just in technology, but I really love the QuickBooks platform. I will talk more about them in my chapter titled "How I Bill My Customers." Well, that's over here on the own authority side, which we're heading to next. Tiny Scanner, we just talked about Tiny Scanner. Milwaukee, I love the Milwaukee brand of tools. They work great, they look good, and they feel nice. Feel good as far as their quality goes. All my tools are not by Milwaukee, but many of my important tools are, especially like my big air impact gun, and etc. Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight has saved me much money over the years. They have tools that are of enough quality to get the job done, but at great prices. From wrenches to jack stands to like bottle jacks and sockets and all sorts of stuff. They almost have it all when it comes to the basic most used tools. I really like the Harbor Freight brand the heat shrink butt connectors. I use the heat shrink butt connectors, pretty cheap and work great. And I use their wire loom. It's really cheap. It's like $3 for a big roll of wire loom, the plastic that goes on the outside of the wire. I've used both of those. I used them for years, the wire loom and the heat shrink butt connectors. And just Harbor Freight in general, and the prices are great. Alright, so next that takes me to the Pittsburgh brand tools, and these are the ones you'll see at Harbor Freight. I still have a ton of Pittsburgh deep sockets, regular sockets, and wrenches. They are guaranteed for life. And if you happen to break one of their sockets or tools, Harbor Freight will refund you for another. Unless something is dramatically changed. But yeah, this brand will help you get your tool collection started for cheap. So when you're first getting started collecting tools, you don't have to, have like, I gotta have all Milwaukee Matco snap on it. No, this Pittsburgh brand will really help you get your tools up for a competitive price. Still to this day, I check Harbor Freight for certain tools depending on the job I'm doing. As far as trucks, I like the Volvo brand, the Freightliner brand, and the International brand, with Western Star being a runner-up. I talk a lot about truck brands, of course, back in chapter 5. What truck should I choose? So we got into the specifics of that, and if you haven't done that chapter already, it's right there. So we got this product here, CRC, the Stay Lube GL4 85W90 multi-purpose gear oil, and here's the link to it on Amazon. This is my link. I love this product. I was first introduced to it by Roz over at Roz.com. He explained to me that using this Stay Lube GL4 gear oil in my oil changes will add back the minerals like zinc that was recently taken out of the regular oils like Rotella. Yeah, so it's probably like, what, 2018, 16-ish, somewhere around there, where oil went through another standardized like regulation, like, I don't want to say improvement, but like it was like a regulation enhancement where some of the components of the oils were getting stripped out, and like, say for instance, like zinc. So this GL4 helps us add these materials back in. A lot of us from Roz.com use 1 gallon per oil change in the warmer times of the year, and we add half a gallon during the colder times. So like we get a new oil change. So like, even if you're like TA Petro or Speedco and they're about to pump the oil back in, you'd be like, hey, I want half a gallon of this going first, then fill the rest up. Or in the summertime, it's like, hey, I want this whole gallon in, and then fill the rest up. Kind of the same idea of like when someone uses Lucas. Not only does this gear oil bring back the good minerals the motor needs, like zinc, it makes the oil just a little bit thicker, giving it even more lubrication, protection on the moving parts of your motor, but not too thick of a consistency. All right, half a gallon in the winter, 1 full gallon in the summer. It's about $40 a bottle, but it becomes more affordable to do this every oil change, especially when you're doing your own oil. But especially as our motor ages and it gets closer, to 1 million and stuff. Like I do this every time, unless for some reason I just didn't have the GL4, the Stay Lube GL4, and I'm like over the road or something. But then I'll just, when I need to top off my oil again, I'll top it with that. All right, so you got this brand right here called Truckerz. Next, it's called TRUX, Truckerz. I like the Truckerz brand for lights and different accessories. And here's a link to their website so you can see their logo. They make nice stuff. They sell them at up at my wife's store, my local parts house up here, for like light upgrades and replacements. Nice product. And also you got Truck Light next, which is LITE. Truck Light is another nice brand that makes a range of products, and here's their link. You will be more likely to find these brands at the family-owned parts stores and the Fleet Prides and Truck Pros. So if you see something from Truck Light or Truckerz, just know more than likely it's nice quality and it's going to do well. Next, we got Fleet Pride. Fleet Pride, and here's their link. Of course, it's a parts store, so in different sections of the country. And Fleet Pride is a good place to get parts when on the road. I don't have one here locally, but if I did, I'd probably shop there more often. It's definitely a better alternative to dealerships for parts that are not dealership specific. Next, we got Truck Pro, which is another parts store that is a great alternative to the big dealerships. Truck Pro and Fleet Pride are like kind of from a bird's eye view, in a nutshell, have the same operation, but they're two different companies. But they're like both the next level competitors outside of dealerships, so to speak, give or take. That's one way to I can kind of explain it. But next, we got this 4-State Trucks right there in Joplin, Missouri. These guys are really, really cool, and they really have their stuff together, right? If you find yourself with a little extra time and you're passing through Joplin, Missouri, go ahead and take that exit 4 and park your truck in front of their store and go check them out. You go walk in and look and touch and feel and see all sorts of stuff, and man, from upgrades to parts to accessories, headache racks, toolboxes, chrome, t-shirts, clothing, culture, it's all there. They seem to have an awesome supply of what seems like everything. They sell everything from headache racks to fuel tanks to fenders to chrome to clothing to lights to replacement motor parts, and you name it. They also have an install team that are there to help you load up and install things like a headache rack, or even to help you install lights and etc. for a fee, of course. They run promotions and sales all the time. Don't hesitate to order online from them either. They have a great sales team and great customer service. Everything that I've ordered from them has been delivered fast and was communicated, via email back and forth through the whole shipping process. Forest 8 Trucks is top notch in my book. Now, I like to use Bridgestone tires for my steers. They make a tire called the 283, the R283 Ecopia 22Rs, and I think this one is actually, at the time of this video now, has been discontinued, and I think they went to the R. Yeah, I'm about to say it right here. I love this tire for my steer position. I've been buying this tire without fail for many years. Every time I go, and I need to get another steer tire every couple, 2 to 4 years, I get another one. So like right here, I say I get about 2 to 4 years out of a set, sometimes longer when I'm not out driving many miles. But like I said, it looks like at the time of this riding, even the R283 may be discontinued. I see the new R284 tire is on the market and being advertised now. So I'm assuming this R284 is the successor of the 283, and if that's the case, I bet the 284 will be a great tire too. Next, we got Michelin. I really like the Michelin XDN2 for my drive tires. If you take care of them, they seem to last forever. I'm still on the same pair I bought about 5 years ago, and I still have a ton of tread on them. But but I drive slower and do things we mentioned in how to drive as an owner app and just being easier on them and stuff. But yeah, same pair I bought 5 years ago. These are an expensive tire, if you're paying full price like I do nowadays. But if you can buy these on a big fleet, like if you're still leased to a company or a big fleet and you have a national tire discount, that would be great. When it comes to trailer tires on my spread axle, believe it or not, I prefer this brand called Duraturn over even the bigger name brands. They make an awesome all position tire called the DA20, the Duraturn DA20. So if you ever see that Duraturn DA20, you need a trailer tire, don't hesitate. That's an awesome tire. It's not just because they're way cheaper. It's because they actually handled the abuse on my spread axle way better. Because if you imagine a spread axle trailer, say if I'm making a right turn, and so like the back wheels are following, or especially like if I'm backing up, how do I want to put this? But that first axle on the spread axle trailer, you got the first axle, then the back axle, it ends up getting dragged around. So if I'm making like a right hand turn, it's going to get dragged more so than like turn. It's not going to get its turn then go. It's going to get dragged. So that dragging process, really tears up the tires on that spread axle over time, especially if we're taking really sharp turns and backing up in an angle. But this tire handles it well, very well, very well. The only problem is now they're a little harder to find, which is driving up the price on the tire a little bit. But recently I got them off this I think it's called simpletire.com. And I ordered like 4 of them for my spread axle off the internet. I think I got them for like $2.50 a tire or something like that, and I got them shipped to my FedEx place up here for free or for a decent price. And picked them up. Brought my flatbed up there and picked them up right from the FedEx loading docks. They've also recently had some container issues out at the ports. Out west, they've had problems with containers of tires getting held up at customs for months without being released. Southern Tire Mart stocked them for a while, and the price per tire was $225 for a long time. I'm working on finding a replacement brand and model that can perform as good as the DA20 at a competitive price. So far, I haven't really found one. I'm trying out a tire from Road 1, and they've been pretty good. And about a year later, I would still say the Road 1 tire is done pretty well. I just haven't used them on my spread axle yet. When I find the DA20 on sale at this place here, the Simple Tire, here's the link, or somewhere online for a good deal, I will try to go ahead and get a couple for backup. I really love the performance of this tire as a trailer tire. It has deep treads too. Unlike some of the trailer tires that even when they're brand new, they got low tread. We want deep tread so the tire lasts longer. Next, I used Monroe shocks for a while, but recently I switched to the Sachs brand. S-A-C-H. S-A-C-H. Sachs brand. My local parts house stocks them, and I was convinced of their quality. after having some conversation about it, I was told that these are actually OEM replacements and are also being used as OEM, right from the manufacturer on many of the new trucks being produced. I think there's like a 3-year warranty on them. I recently, about 6 months ago, replaced all my truck shocks with the Sachs brand. The ride has improved for sure, and I'm very impressed with this brand so far. Sachs, SACHS, and these are for shocks. Next, we got Nasdaq, which we've been talking them up for a while now, and here's their link again out of Galatian, Tennessee. If you have your own authority, I definitely recommend and endorse Nasdaq hands down as your fuel card partner / provider. They have the best discounts that I've found, and I love their whole culture of how they run their business and put us owner operators first. They are a breath of fresh air to us in the truck ownership side of trucking. Their app works really well for finding their fuel stops, and the discounts that I get with them are very comparable, if not more, than the ones I was getting with Landstar. It's very cool because David Owens, the owner, leverages all 10,000 of us or so members to compete with the big fleets when it comes to providing guaranteed business to a certain brand of truck stop, which in our case is TA or Petro. So he takes all of us together. He goes to TA Petro. He's like, hey, look, I guarantee you, I got 10,000 people coming through to buy fuel, and this is the discount we want. This type of formula, percentage or whatever, and they come to a deal, and boom, that's how these huge discounts happen. We are just as big collectively as the biggest fleets are. So check these guys out. And I've even heard at one time, I think that Nasdaq, that we are TA Petro's largest customer. So don't etch that one down in stone, but I have heard that before. I think actually maybe at the Nasdaq orientation, if I remember. So check these guys out. I will talk about them more in my chapter, in the chapter titled Fuel Card, okay? So next we got OIDA, and here's the link for OIDA. I've been a member of with OIDA for many years now. I also have my general liability and cargo insurance with them for many years. I'm sure you probably already know about OIDA, or have heard about them at least. They go to the courts in D.C. and represent us owner-operators. They seem to be very passionate about our rights and not letting the big trucking alliances push us around. And they usually do pretty well in court for us. It's $40 or so a year to be a member, and they'll give you a cool, raised decal you can put on your truck to represent the owner-operator independent driver association. If you are leased onto a company, they offer other insurances for pretty competitive rates, insurances like occupational accident insurance and more. And plus, they can be a wealth of knowledge too when you're getting your own authority and different things like that. You can call them, and they have compliance departments and stuff like that, and they'll answer your questions and and work with you to the best of their ability. We talked about this in maintenance. So next we got Vibratech dampeners, harmonic balancers, vibration dampener. Here's their link. I've been very impressed with the harmonic balancer I bought from Vibratech. They seem to make a really nice product. I endorse. Next, we talked about this in maintenance too, which is the AmSoil BMK30. BMK30 heavy duty bypass system. Here's their link. The AmSoil BMK30 is a must in my book if you have an emissions motor. This oil bypass filter is the best, or one of the best, when it comes to keeping soot out of your oil. The filters last about 80,000 miles, and the whole setup isn't a very costly investment compared to the huge benefit you get from protecting your oil and motor. The whole setup costs around $350 plus labor for the install. Next, we've been talking these guys up a lot, which is truckstop.com. Here's their link, of course. I will talk about them more and how I book my freight, but these guys are exceptional. I love their layout, their interface, and the ability to look at their load board in so many ways very quickly, even while still being on a mobile device. All right, so next, check these guys out. Lease and Neville alternators. It's like Lease, then you got the dash, then Neville. Leece. And here's their link to kind of see more about them. But I really like the price and performance of these alternators. They are much cheaper than the OEM alternators and perform great. If you are ever faced with the decision to get a Lease Neville alternator or not, like say like if you have options like, oh, it's like 800 for the OEM, or you can get this lease for like 250, this lease Nevo, just know that it's not a no-name knockoff. They really make a great product. I have one on my truck now, so that's good to know. Lease Neville brand alternator. All right, so next we got Conmet. Conmet, and here's their link so you can see their logo and see what they're about. But Conmet makes great products at aftermarket prices. They make brake drums and more. Don't hesitate to buy a Conmet brake drum. They do awesome. Meritor. I only use Meritor slack adjusters when possible. I have a Meritor transmission, and I've been a fan of pretty much anything Meritor for a long time. They make quality products that stand the test of time, and they have a great reputation in our trucking business. Next brand is Spicer. Here's their link to see their logo and see what they got, what they're all about. But I only use Spicer parts when possible when it comes to U-joints and driveline. Spicer is a brand you can trust. They've had a great reputation in trucking for forever, so it seems. You know, they've had a great reputation forever, for a long time. Next, we got Bussman and Eaton for Eaton Fuller. Bussman / Eaton Fuller fuses, okay, for our little fuses in our fuse panel and etc. I prefer Bussman Eaton fuses, but will use other brands. All right. Now this is the next brand is Grody. It looks like it says Grote, but like I said earlier about my wife working at my local parts store, and they order directly from Grody, and they're from Canada. So she talks to the reps over there at the company, and so she knows it's Grody because, you know, the owner of the shop, and even on the other end, everybody says Grody. They are based in Canada, but they make some of the best electrical components on the market. You know, like butt connectors and replacement, like switches, and they make all sorts of cool stuff. Glad hands and glad hand extensions, all their stuff is top notch. Delco Remy, here's their link. See their logo. You know, they're pretty much a standard in our industry, anyways. But they are great, and they have a solid reputation in our business. Delco Remy starters. These are for your starter. Delco Remy. Fleet Guard filters. Here's their link. But Fleet Guard filters are what I use. I use Fleet Guard oil, air, and coolant filters. It's up to you, of course, which brand of filters you use. Just make sure you do some research first before you make your selection. One reason I choose Fleet Guard is because they are produced by Cummins, and it always made sense to me to use a Cummins filter on a Cummins motor. Next, we got Ankra. Here's their link. Ankra makes high quality strap for flatbed and for cargo van. And they also make other high quality products when it comes to load securement for flatbed or van. They have an excellent reputation in our trucking business as well. They have become an industry standard over the years. Next is their competition here, which I never probably say their name right, but Kindine or Kinidine, Kindine. But anyways, here's their link. We know the name. It's pretty much the only other main competition against Ankra. You know, so they're the industry standard opponent of Ankra. But, you know, they also make great securement products and have a great reputation. Next, we got Dayco. And here's their website link. Dayco makes a great belt tensioners and belts. You will find Dayco products at local part houses, Fleet Price, Truck Pros, and maybe even TA Petros. They may be in the big dealerships, but I don't know. I rarely go to the dealerships anymore for stuff like that. So just know when you see a Dayco product, a Dayco belt or a tensioner, it's not a knockoff. They make good stuff. Next, we got Stemco. And here's their link. Stemco is my go-to brand for wheel seals. Like, pretty much, that's just like Stemco or no go. But, you know, they're pretty much it's industry standard anyways. You know, they make the most of it, of those products, so it seems anyways. Next, we got Timken. Timken is the industry standard when it comes to wheel bearings. I buy Timken wheel bearings whenever I buy wheel bearings. So, boom. Timken wheel bearings are the standard. Next is Eaton Fuller clutches. So whenever I'm doing a clutch, I'm definitely going to get an Eaton Fuller clutch. You know, it's industry standard when it comes to clutches, and Eaton makes some of the best clutches on the market for sure. I like the two-piece easy adjust model. It's a 2-piece clutch in the easy adjust modes, adjust model. Okay. Minimizer. Here's their link for the half fenders that I'm currently running. But I have a set of half fenders on my truck, and I can personally vouch for their quality. They make some stylish products, and that's of nice quality. Next, we got Merit. Merit makes some really good headache racks and step boxes. They have a great reputation in our industry. I own a Merit step box, like I showed you earlier on the photo, in one of the chapters that we just already covered. I think it was it wasn't maintenance, but they also make a great product called, and remember this one, easy mount brackets. So whenever you're buying toolboxes for your truck and stuff and you don't want to drill holes in it, you can look up this product called easy mount brackets. And these brackets come with a kit that you can mount the L brackets that hold the box without having to drill holes in your frame. It just grabs your frame and it sticks on the other end. You just have to take a look at the picture to see, but they're called easy mount brackets. So let's wrap it up. It takes time to develop this type of experience and list of things that work and do not work. And this is a pretty good list of a pretty good running list of brands that I trust and that have proved to me that they are worth buying and using. It's hard to be successful when you're running your business off low quality parts and services that are overpriced. As you go, continue to build a mental and or physical list of what products and brands work for you and which ones do not. It's always about learning and growing. Continue to learn and grow, right? I'm always doing this at the end of these chapters, summing it back up to this, to the mentality parts that are really going to help all this information get into us so we can really, stick with this and get to the other side and have the freedom that we want to do, that, financial freedom and the freedom that we want out of this, okay? So, continue to learn and grow, okay? Learn from the mechanic at TA. Learn from the older owner-operator at the truck stop with his hood open. But also be mindful to separate information from facts, as we did, as we talked about in the very, very beginning in chapter 1. Then once you separate information from facts, to separate facts into the two categories, is this a relevant fact or is this an irrelevant fact? Because there's a ton of facts that are factual, but it's just irrelevant to what you're doing in your operation, in your journey. Much of what people talk about is just information out here on the road, right? You're going to be bombarded with a lot of information. So when facts get spoken, do your own research and just remember, just because it's a fact doesn't mean that it's irrelevant to you, that it doesn't mean that it's relevant to you and or your goals. If we allow ourselves to be bogged down with irrelevant facts or information, we can get in our own way when it comes to success, because we just got too much information that it can just stall us out. And instead of making moves or going in a direction, we just get stalled out with all this information or irrelevant facts. We slow ourselves down and we fill ourselves up with all sorts of unnecessary information. We need to be like a fast running computer, so to speak, right? So when we think about a computer, the more data that's on a computer, the like hard drive, the slower it's running. That's why retaining only relevant facts is key, so we don't slow ourselves down, right? We're like a fast running computer that only has in it what it needs. So then once we get our upgrade or whatever, we'll delete out what we don't need and keep it moving instead of being bogged down with so much stuff we don't need. So keep your spirits up, keep your back straight, because we got some money to make. All right. At this point in my book, we are about to split off into the realm of having your own authority. Even if you don't plan on having your own authority yet, there is still valuable information for you in the how I book my freight, taxes, LLC or not, and morale chapters. Continue your journey with me for another 15 chapters, right? This is a one-stop shop in many ways, this program of mine. You trust me, you pay me your money, and this program took me months and months and months to put together, and it was just always in my intention that, you know, I wanted to give a product that was actually usable, valuable, and one that could stand the test of time, you know, and one that was just not really up to debate. Was like, did I get my money's worth? Was there enough value in this program? Yes, because we're about to go into another 15 chapters. Okay, we're about to break it all down when it comes to the specifics of having your own authority. So everything that we just went through is the foundation to what we're about to do, and like I said, like the bottom of the iceberg, you know, compared to looking at the tip. But the 15 chapters that we all just did, these are, you know, what needs to be done more so for like owner operator leased, or you lease onto a company, Landstar, Mercer, and etc., a smaller brokerage and carrier. So as we proceed, you know, the information is going to be getting specific to having your own authority. So congratulations to making it this far. Like I said, go back and watch the videos. Continue to read read through the books on your spare time, and let this information get into you. Let this confidence get into you, and let this my experience get into you more so than going over your head or going around you. Okay, that's why I keep on repeating a lot of things like initiative and getting into these mentalities, because our mentality is pretty much our single most important asset to whether we're going to do well in any business or in life in general when it comes to success and happiness. The information I'm about to deliver you is great to know whether you get your own authority or not. Maybe you end up getting your own authority and don't even realize that's what you want to do at this point in time. If getting your own authority is something that's on your horizon, then my next 15 chapters are definitely for you. This can be a challenging process and become overwhelming if you don't have someone to guide you through the process. Getting your own authority is the easy part, but building and developing your system is what will keep you in the business, right? Like I said, I'm not here just to get you into the business. I want to help keep you in this business, okay? You know, help put the mentality and the tools and information and resources to be competitive, to stay in the business, not just get in. Getting in is the easy. Things like, how do I bill my customers? Should I factor? What is factoring? How do I do credit checks on brokers? What about getting a fuel card? What about carrier packs? How do I fill them out? What about rate cons? Should I get an LLC? How do I really manage taxes? Like a business. What load board should I use? What tactics should I use when I'm booking loads? All the questions, right? All this and more is what you will be getting exposed to in the next 15 chapters. So let's continue into chapter 15. Own authority. I'm Andrew's Method. Andrew'sMethod.com. We got our Kajabi going. I'm on social media at Andrews_method. Let's link up and keep it moving, okay? Much success as we go into the next section, okay? Congratulations for getting this far. You're doing very well. See you. That was a little weird. Congratulations. You're doing very well. And when I mean see you, I mean like see ya on the next segment and out here, because I think by going through this program, we're all doing the right thing, and you're doing the right thing by allowing yourself to get this type of exposure. Okay, I'll see you over in chapter 15.